Scarlet Doobie here. What's the play for today? Well, I have no idea exactly what's going to happen. What I'm going to do though is grab something that I have around me and just start playing. If I dive in and just start with something, the play usually starts to take over and then the muse kind of guides me as to where to go. So what am I going to grab today? What do I have a lot around me? I have a lot of cardboard around me. So I'm going to grab a piece of cardboard and just see what happens. Well, the cardboard that I have, is it fancy cardboard? Nah, it's just some box I cut up. It could be anything, any kind of surface. This is just one I happen to have around. And then I'm going to put some gesso on it. You can tell the precision with which I am applying that gesso. Such an even coat everywhere, right? Nah, doesn't matter. You just put some of it on there. What matters for me is that it's no longer brown. I really just want to turn this thing white. Now I'm ready to figure out what I want to do next to it. Well, as I looked around the studio, a couple things called to me. One of them was my never-ending calendar stencil from StencilGirl, and the other one is the Deco Art Mister. Now this is going to be in black, and I'm going to make a wonderful mess. Now because I know I'm going to make a mess, I am grabbing a blank art journal page there, setting it off to the side so I have a place to clear off my stencil. Because I know I don't want to waste a drop of color or pattern. Now with this as I'm stenciling, I am getting that stencil absolutely juicy. What I'm doing is stenciling right up next to the stencil and I'm hitting it with a lot of color. That means everything's going to get runny, it's going to get splotchy, nothing's going to be perfect. And that's exactly what I'm in the mood for. I'm in the mood to just kind of make a big old mess. Now if you've never used the misters before, the ink in this is not water reactive once it's dry. So once I let it completely dry, I can put paint on top of it or get it wet, that kind of thing, and it's not going to smear, run, or bleed through. Now it's had a few minutes to dry. It actually doesn't take it very long to dry, especially considering how wet I had it. And I've grabbed some paints. These are from the Deco Art Media Fluid Acrylic line, and I just want to play with the rainbow on this. I've got the black pattern on there with the circles and the numbers and that kind of thing, but now it's time to bring in the rainbow. Now I'm starting out with a brush here, and all it took was getting just a little bit of paint on my finger, and I had to dive all in, and I am going to paint this with my fingers. Now since these paints are non-toxic, I am going to get all of my fingers in here. I have a way of keeping the rainbow bright and happy when I'm finger painting, if I can remember to actually do it. What I tend to do is pick one color per finger if I can remember, but sometimes I get so into the play, I just end up putting a finger in whatever color. So you can tell which finger is going to get the blue. Let's see by the end if I can actually keep all the colors on the proper finger. Now the benefit of that is it keeps my colors pure, brighter, happier. They don't mingle and mix quite as much. But the one challenge is it does make me think as I have to keep matching up the right color to the right finger. So I don't have a perfect track record with this at all, so we'll see by the end of this video if I'm actually hanging in there and keeping them matched up. And now that I think about it, I have the same problem when I'm using paintbrushes. If I've got a bunch of paintbrushes out there, I sometimes forget which color goes in which one, or really I'm just not paying that close of attention to it, and end up sticking different color paintbrushes in different colors of paint, and I really only seem to notice it when I make that dreaded color of mud. That color I so prefer to avoid. So at this point, the color becomes mildly addictive to me because I love smearing a little bit of one color on top of another color, seeing how they play together, and it ends up creating all these wonderful layers of the rainbow. Now for those of you that have seen some of my other videos and know how I respond to white space, you're probably wondering at this point if that white space is going to be white by the end of this. Well, it's probably not going to be too much of a spoiler alert for you on that one, that I think that white space is all going to be history and become a part of the rainbow before this is done. Now, if you haven't seen a lot of my videos and you would like to see more of them, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as I have a new video out on YouTube. And after you've seen a little bit of my stuff, you might notice a recurring theme, a thread that runs through it, that thread of play, because that is so very important to me. There was a time in my life when I wasn't able to play, when I wasn't able to just let myself have fun with my art supplies, and well, I'm much happier now that I do it regularly. And I'm also sharing some of the ways that I rediscovered how to play again. And I've got those in a free workshop called Permission to Play. Guess what it's all about? Getting started and giving yourself that permission to play, no experience needed, and you can find all the information about it over on the blog at acolorfuljourney.com. Now, one of the cool things for me about play is sometimes it helps me sort out stuff in my head without even really thinking or trying, because I don't even know some of it needs to get sorted out. Like, I didn't know why it was this stencil that I was supposed to play with today, according to the muse. And now that I'm doing this part, I'm realizing, oh, my mind is wandering to some of the things involving time, end of the year, resolutions, all that kind of stuff, which has sort of been percolating around in my head, is now getting processed out in my art journal. So I've got lots of color on here, but I actually want to be able to add some writing, some scribbling, some journaling. And one of the cool side effects of doing a little bit of art play is that I'm kind of sorting out and straightening out a couple of things that have been sitting in the back of my mind that I didn't realize I was thinking about quite so much. So kind of nice to get a little clarity on that. Now, what exactly is it that I'm using to write with? This is called a fine liner, and it is basically, you get it as an empty tube and you can fill it with whatever you want. I tend to fill it with something like an acrylic ink or a high flow paint, basically something really, really runny, so that it can come out the little tip. Now, the little tip, the cool thing about that is it doesn't clog. It's got in the cap a pin that goes into it, so this thing never clogs, even though that you don't have to clean it. Well, I shouldn't say never clogs, because I actually did clog one, but that was totally my fault because what I put into it was a little too thick. So that's not because of the fine liner, that was total user error on that one. Now, after doing a little bit of that journaling thing, all of a sudden the circles started calling to me, and I started circling numbers that were important to me all on here. And then I kind of got a little carried away with the circles because it was just fun to make it go round and round. So I just kept making more and more of them. I mean, after all, this is play. It's not like there are any rules to this. If I'm feeling like making a bunch of big circles, I can absolutely do that. After all, what is this? It's a piece of cardboard. Now, this piece of cardboard is getting kind of full and loaded up with stuff, and I'm quite frankly really enjoying it how it looks, so I'm thinking I might stop soon with it, but I don't want to stop playing. Plus, I've got all this paint left over here on my palette that I haven't used up. So what am I going to do? I'm going to work on that cleanup page in my art journal. This is the one where I was cleaning off the stencil. Well, on this one, I'm going to pull out the paint brushes, and I'm going to use up some of that paint and just start building up a background by working around in those white spaces. And the $64,000 question is, will I leave any white space on this page by the time that I'm done? Well, we'll just have to see. Now, instead of using a different finger for each color, I'm using a different paintbrush for each color. That way my colors stay nice and bright and vivid. If I was using the same paintbrush to do all of them, I would absolutely get a muddy color. Now, this is going to be a background for a future art journal page, and I say future page because I'm not going to finish it all today. That's the cool thing about art journal pages. They don't have an expiration date. If I work on a page in my journal, I can come back to it when I'm ready. When the muse strikes me, when she tells me that this is the time, this is the place when you're supposed to use that page, that's when I'll come back to it. And of course, I'll share whatever I end up doing to it. Now, this video is coming close to an end, but that doesn't mean the play is ending. Of course, you can check out another one of my videos, and you can find more stuff over on the blog at acolorfuljourney.com. And if you're looking for some play and how to let yourself play, there's that free workshop, Permission to Play, waiting for you. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.